Well, good evening. We want to welcome you to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. And I tell you guys, we are in for a treat on this evening. I got a special guest that's going to be joining me any moment now. Go ahead, Mother. See if you can join in now. Grab a spot. See if you can grab a spot. I'm trying to get my mother on with me. I think these guys are going to enjoy this one. If we can get her on here, it's going to be awesome on tonight. Is it letting you grab a spot?
It's 3 spots available, but I can't get it.
You can't grab any one of them?
Not either one.
Okay, we're going to keep working on that. But listen, guys, I got my mother on here. Somebody let me know if you can hear us. If you can hear us on here, somebody just give me a little nod or a clap or something and let me know that you can hear us. You can hear my mother as well as myself on here as we work out these technical difficulties. But we're going to just have an awesome time. I just thought it would be something exciting, something different. You guys have heard from, of course, myself and Madeline. You've heard from myself and Madeline and our daughters, but you haven't heard from us from the in-law perspective. And I just thought tonight would be just a little different if we were able to come in from the in-law perspective. And so tonight I wanted to have my mother on. I can't say she's just like me. I'm just like her. She's a straight shooter. She doesn't pity pat things. She's not going to sugarcoat anything. She's going to tell it just like it is. And so I so want her to be able to pop up on here because I'm telling you guys, you're going to enjoy this. What we're going to share tonight is just going to be awesome. And tonight we're going to be talking about straight from the mother's mouth. And so I'm just going to ask my mom some questions regarding this blended family dynamic and how she's been able to navigate it and even assist us over these past 20 plus years. And so see if you can grab a spot. See if you can grab a spot. Will it let you grab a spot? Because it's unlocked on my end, so you should be able to grab a spot.
I see everything is open, but grab the spot, it won't allow us to come.
See if you double tap it, something.
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay.
On my end, I can see you clearly.
On your end, you can see me clearly, but you still can't grab a spot. Wow.
Can't.
Okay.
You want to try again?
Yes, try again.
No, nothing happened.
Okay, well, we're gonna go on. We're gonna go on till we get this figured out. So I got my mother on with me, and we're gonna just have a father, a mother-son discussion on tonight. A mother-son discussion on tonight, because there's some things that I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys want to know from the in-law, from an in-law perspective. as it relates to the blended family and how we were able to successfully do this for over the last 20 years. And so I wanted to, first question I'm gonna ask you, you guys gonna hear me say Ma. That's how I address my mother is Ma. I don't say mother. I don't say mommy. I say Ma. And so, so mother, was it difficult handling the fact that your son was going to marry a woman with not just one, but 3 children?
It was for me. But it wasn't difficult for me saying that it was something that you had to take on. Because if I were the woman with 3 children, and especially girls, there would be no way that I would accept you in my house. That was not it on it.
So say that again.
I had expectation, not because of what you would be, but it was, and now, but if it was me as a mother of 3 children, especially girls, there would be no way I would have allowed you to. But wow. That was what I knew, that she really loved you, and you were committed to her as a family.
Wow. So explain that a little bit, because that's interesting. This is the first time I heard that one. Go ahead, talk to me.
Well, I'll explain a little bit about my life as a child, as you would tell you that all at once, because a lot of children didn't know how to accept it. My mother, a man that a father could live with her, and that same person was the one who watched. So I had 60 that I didn't realize I had up until I was 50 years old.
Okay, so you broke up a little bit. So go back to that just a little bit for me.
So what part? About my growing up?
Yes.
Okay. When I was growing up, myself and 3 other girls was exposed to my mother's decision to have a man live with us.
Got you.
The same person is the person her life. So I had issues that I didn't have to deal with until I was almost 50 years old.
Wow. And so I don't know if you guys were able to hear that clearly, but my mother was sharing how when she was, how old were you at that time?
When my mother was killed, I was 16, almost 30 years old.
But how old were you when he came into your life?
I'll say 14. Mm-hmm.
And they were married?
They were not married.
Okay.
They were living together.
Okay. And so guys, the backdrop to that was when my mother was 14, her mother was in a relationship with a guy. Now, it was not just my mother, but it was my mother along with 3 other siblings. So it was 4 girls total. And her difficulty initially with me getting in this blended family stemmed from what she experienced as with her mother's relationship with this gentleman. And what she said, say that again? That's exactly right.
Yes.
And so what she shared was the fact that, and so I told you guys, this thing gets deeper and deeper. But what she shared was this same gentleman 2 years later killed her mother. And if I'm not shot her in the head.
Yes.
This same gentleman who her mother introduced to these 4 young women shot her mother in the head and killed her. And so there was a strong reservation for me getting into this blended family dynamic, especially with Madeline having 3 girls, because my mother can only rehearse what she went through as a teenage girl.
Exactly.
And so, wow. I mean, I knew about this story, you know, and so, wow, yeah. And so it was difficult. And like she expressed, it was difficult for her. Not that I wouldn't be a good fit, not that it wasn't a good decision, but just the mere fact of her, in a sense, my mother, in a sense, reliving what she went through as a teenage girl. Would that be correct? Okay.
That's exactly correct.
Wow. And so you got, and we're sharing this because a lot of times when you're dealing with the blended family dynamic, there's a lot of moving pieces that people don't even know, that people have no clue that these pieces were even moving. You know, people have no clue. This was the first time, and we've been married 21 plus years. This is the first time I heard of the reservations or the difficulty in my mother handling the fact that I was going to marry a young lady with daughters. That's the first time I heard. That was something totally new to me. I mean, it was really new to me. And so, man, this is huge. But go ahead.
I didn't say anything to you, but I did go to Madeline and I told her that I was proud that you had enough space to allow you in the house of her children. I don't know if she remembered that, but I did go to that call. And I said to her, if it was me, I'm not sure I would be able to do it. And I appreciate the trust that you put on for my family.
Oh wow! So she said that she even went to. Now she didn't say anything to me about it. Interesting. She didn't say anything to me about her reservations or the difficulty in handling this, but she did, however, go to my wife and express that to her, that she thought that was big, that was huge, somewhat commendable, that she would step into this dynamic with me. Would that be a correct statement?
That's correct.
And so, man, wow, this is a way to start this thing off, guys. I tell you. And so, again, understanding how powerful this in the blender is, it's changing lives, guys, because a lot of you guys are dealing with some things, especially from an in-law perspective, and you don't even know the story. I didn't even know. I knew of some of the tragedies my mother dealt with as a young lady, and even dealt with me as a young man. But I didn't make the connection of what she dealt with as a young lady and me in my marriage relationship. I didn't make that connection. I had no clue about that. And so, wow. So, mother, that is so hilarious to me. So, Ma,
Yeah.
what was your first impression then about becoming an instant? With that being said, what was then your impression about becoming an instant grandmother of 2 teens and a preteen?
It made me pray. It made me stay in prayer. And I prayed more for Madeline because I could feel that she was in a struggle. She never came to me. She never made any complaints to me. But when I talked to her, I could feel that at most times it's struggle. So what I did is I just prayed. And because I believe that prayer is the answer to everything, faith and believing in what you pray for is the answer to everything. I just prayed.
Wow. So I asked my mother what was her first impression about becoming an instant grandmother of 2 teens and a preteen, and her response to me was she just prayed. Now, give you guys some backdrop. At this particular time, this was some years into our salvation. And so at that time, my mother, I mean, what she still is, but she was a prayer warrior. And so what she did was she just prayed. She didn't really know what to do other than pray. And the thing about it was, like she said, Madeline never went to her and expressed what may have seemed like apparent struggles or an apparent struggle with this transition. But because my mother had already gone through a similar situation, she had already gone through something that was, I mean, almost similar in the respect of a woman with girls and having a man come into their life. She knew the importance of, now I need to intercede for her, because there's some things that can arise, that may try to arise, that the shield of protection or the prayer of protection will cover even that situation. Oh, this is some good stuff here. Did you think that your son was making the right decision when he first told you he wanted to get married again?
I really did. And I know you should have known I thought it was the right decision. Because when
I don't know, because you let me get in this first one and you ain't say a thing. So I felt like
oh, wait a minute. That's not true. That's not true. You just asked yourself. That's not true. When you told me to marry the first time, I asked you to who?
Hold on, say that again.
When you told me to get married the first time, I asked you to who?
What that mean?
Why?
Okay.
I didn't have the same feeling when you came to me with Madeline. I didn't have the same feeling.
Okay.
And unfortunately, for people who are in tune with the, you still think the most people feel. I didn't feel the around, but I thank God for me out of it. But I really feel about the second for him.
Got you. So when I told you I was getting married again, you felt like that was the right decision.
Exactly.
And of course, you didn't have that same feeling the first time.
No.
Got you. And because, again, your prayer life, it gave you a peace about that decision.
It did. It
Good,
did.
good. Listen, there's a stigma concerning mother-in-laws and the wife that a lot of couples deal with or have dealt with. What makes your relationship with your daughter-in-law different? And what advice can you give in-laws that will assist in their success, in the success of their child's marriage?
Each relationship is different. But the bottom line to each relationship is their relationship.
Now, hold on. Stop right there. Because I'm a slow walker. So I asked my mother, I said to her that there's a stigma concerning mother-in-law and wife relationships that a lot of couples deal with or have dealt with. And then I asked her this question. I said, what makes her relationship with my wife different? And what advice can she give in-laws that will assist in the success of their child's marriage? And her answer was, or the first part of her answer was, every marriage relationship is different, correct?
Correct.
And so there has to be an understanding that every marriage relationship is different. And as an in-law, you have to approach every relationship differently.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So my insight was that learn to listen and don't comment right away.
So hold on, stop right there. So she said one of the things that the insight that she gathered from this was learn to listen and not to comment right away. And that's big because and we're kind of getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but it's going to work its way out. But a lot of times we find out that a lot of in-laws, they do more talking than they do listening. Because they feel like because this is my son or because this is my daughter, I have the right to voice my opinion. While you do have the right to voice your opinion, it may not be beneficial that you voice your opinion.
Exactly.
And so a lot of times, and I want you guys to hear me real good. Everybody has an opinion. I can't tell you what that's similar to, but you know what it is because all of us got one of those too. And so sometimes you need to learn how to keep your opinion to yourself. Because at the end of the day, I was joking with my mother about my first marriage. And you guys know that this is my second marriage. And I was joking with her about not saying anything. And again, that saying something would have been her opinion. Now, although she knows how much I value her opinion, how much I would have valued her opinion, she still did more praying than talking. She did more listening than talking because those prayers are what allow me to not only get out of what I was in, but to get out of it with the right mind. Because too many of us, when we get out of stuff, our minds are messed up. And so I was able to get out of that situation with my mind straight. And so go ahead, mother.
And I think I'm not sure, but I felt that Madeline knew that if anything she knew to talk to me about the school, I wouldn't be opinionated. But if you ask me a question, I'm going to give you the answer that I think God would want me to give you, not just my opinion.
Wow. And so listen, and I kind of see where I get some of this stuff from. I wasn't sure. I was like, well, how am I so different than everybody? But she said she believed that Madeline knew that she could come to her. If she needed to come to her, she believed that she knew she could. Now, however, I don't know if she did or didn't. I really don't care. It made me no different, but she believed that Madeline knew that she could come to her if she needed to come to her. And not only did she know she could come to her, but she knew that she would get, and this is one thing I know I got from you, because I'm not a branding opinion person. I'm a word guy. And so if a person comes to me, we're going to go by the word. What do the word say?
Exactly.
Because I'm going to have to give an account for everything that I tell a person. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm going to have to give an account. And so I have to make sure that whatever I give you is going to line up with the word of God, period. Anybody know me? They know that's how I roll. And so as an in-law, you got to make sure that you're not giving, if you're going to give advice, if you're going to give your opinion, make sure it's word-based. And not just word-based on a manipulation standpoint, because a lot of people know how to do that as well.
Yes, they do.
But make sure that that word that you're giving lines up with the word.
Yes.
Because the word is truth. Your word is your truth. It's a difference. And I talked about that before. Because a lot of people, I found out, Ma, they got their truth.
We all got our truth.
Exactly. We got our truth. But I found out when you go before the judge, when you go to the court of law, they never ask you for your truth.
That's right.
They ask you, are you going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And so that's important. Wow. So how do you handle that? That segues into this question. How do you handle buttoning up your lips when you may be tempted to share unsolicited advice or opinions? How do you handle that?
You have to ask for help. So it's James says that the tongue is the only member that we cannot control. So we have to ask for the Holy Ghost to control it.
Hold on, say that again.
I said, in the book of James, it speaks that the tongue is the only member of the body that we cannot control. So we have the Holy Ghost to control our tongue. And that's what especially when I'm going to tell somebody something that's going to affect their life.
And so the response to that was, if you don't know, the book of James says that the tongue is unruly. And that's the only member that no man can tame. And so that's when you have to rely on him, Holy Spirit, to guide you in what to say and when not to, what to say, when to say it, and when not to say it. And so what she said was she had to rely on Holy Spirit to take over her tongue, because she may want to make sure that what she said was going to properly affect us the way it should. Because unfortunately, you can't take words back. And many have said things that later on they say they wish they never would have said it. Well, the reason why you said it was because you leaned on your own power and your own strength and your own might. And because you can't tame that tongue, you can't control what comes out of it.
Exactly.
But when you now rely on a greater one, when you rely on a power that's greater than yourself, you move yourself out of the equation, and now you can stop saying something before it comes out. I like that. Have you ever tried to exert pressure or control to determine an outcome? in this marriage?
Me personally?
Yeah, you personally.
I don't think. No, I don't know. I would say no. I would say no.
Let me ask that question again because you kind of struggle with that one.
Because I'm not understanding.
What I'm saying is, have you ever tried to use your influence to bring about a particular outcome concerning a situation in my marriage? Have you ever tried to do that?
I have not.
Why?
I have two reasons. The first reason is, don't make me, if it was me, in the 47 years my father and I were married, that also if it was me, they could not have did what I did. So I don't fear what if it was me, or to anybody's life, not just yours, not even if I wrote it up. I just would do it because of how I was feeling.
Got you. And so this is again, guys. I wish we had the better connection because the impact of this, and we're gonna redo this again because I promise you, you need to see this woman when she says this. Just hearing it, and I'm not really sure how clear it is. Is it clear, sweetheart? And so but understand, she said that because of what she went through in her marriage with my father as relates to outside influences, she was making sure that she wouldn't participate or do the same thing to me.
Exactly.
And that's important, guys, because when anybody that know me know I always say something like this. I'm going to do to others, or I'm going to be for others what people wasn't for me. And what I mean by that is, if I didn't get the support I knew I should have gotten, I'm going to be that support system. If I didn't get the ear that I knew I should have gotten, I'm going to be that ear. Whatever thing that I knew I didn't get, I was going to give to others. And those things that were negative that I did get, I wasn't going to give to people.
Exactly.
And so that was something that the older I get, the more understanding I have of where certain qualities I have come from. And so that was one of them. My mother said that, there were some things that she experienced in 47 plus years of being married to my father that she wouldn't dare take me through. And let me say, I understand, because those were some of the exact things that molded me into the man I am. Because of what I saw, I was a very attentive young guy. I was a very attentive child. I was overly nosy, and I paid close attention to everything. I still do that now. And I'm very detail oriented, and I'm almost like a profiler. I study people to that degree where I can almost write a profile on a person based upon my studies of that person. And I understand that because I did that even growing up because of things that I saw. I wanted to know why people did what they did. Why did they say what they say? Why did they act the way they act? And so it's important, guys, that you make sure that even in this in-law position, that you don't try to exert pressure or control to determine an outcome in your child's relationship. Because when you do that, there's consequences and repercussions behind everything that we do. And a lot of times what comes out of that is not what you want to come out of it. Wow. Is your oh, this is a good one right here. Has your son ever had to choose between you and his wife?
I would say yes.
What do you mean?
I mean, there's situations that I would say, I would like for you to do somewhere or come somewhere, and you're just asking I to explain to. And at that point, I just submit and said, okay. So it's the right thing to do. That. You should, whatever it is for you to do. That's what your job is here, become her husband.
Because the second part to that question is, if he ever had to make that decision based upon what you know about your son, how would that end? So I asked my mother, guys, I said, listen, have I ever had to choose between my wife and my mother? And she said yes. And she said that there were some things that she had asked me, and immediately I would say, I got to talk to my wife, or this is what we're going to do. And then I asked her, I said, based upon, I said, then I kind of asked her the same question again, but differently. I said, if he ever had to make that decision based upon what you know about him, and I asked her, based upon what she knows about me, what would be the outcome? And what was your response?
Brandon and Madeline.
She said Brandon and Madeline. and let me tell you guys, that's important. There were so many. Hear me when I say this. I love this guy more than life itself. And I gotta be clear when I say that so you can understand what I mean. My father was the greatest teacher, or one of the greatest teachers I've ever met. What do you mean? There were so many valuable lessons that he taught me that he didn't even know he was teaching me that impacted my life. Some good, some bad, some indifferent. But he was always teaching me something because I was always watching him and I was always learning. That's why it's important, guys, to understand this. More is caught than taught. Yeah. And a lot of times we think that we can live our lives the way we want to live our lives because we're the parents and we can do what it is we want to do. And we don't understand that there's an impact. There's an impression being made. There's a script that's being written concerning our children's lives based upon what they see us do. And for me, it seemed as if there was a greater influence from my father's family than it was from us. And it seemed as if there were decisions made based upon that influence. Now, that's what it seemed like. But because it seemed that way, I always told myself I would never do that. And as much as I love my mother, and if anybody knows me, know how much I love my mother. This woman right here, when she puts the gangsta, like you wouldn't believe. I told you guys the night I got shot, she called herself going outside with her little piece,
Yeah, I did.
To avenge her son. I'm like, woman, if you don't get back in this door. so this is the type of woman that I grew up knowing. And so that type of, when you grow up with that type of person that will take, and I'm talking about, because a lot of parents will say what they'll do. I seen her do some things, and I know what she'll do. I know what she has done. And so when you got that type of person in your life, and you know the impact and the influence that they have, but they also know that they don't have that much pull on you. She knew that, or she knows that if I gotta choose between her and my wife, she don't got a chance.
Exactly.
It ain't even happening. But that's based upon what I experienced and what I saw. And because I know that that's right.
Yeah.
Not just based upon what I experienced and what I saw, but mainly based upon me knowing that that's right. And that's one of the things that even my wife has an assurity about. She knows that, first of all, she knows that if I had to make that choice, she wins. But she also knows that my mother would never put that type of pressure on our relationship.
Exactly.
Because she values me not only as her son, not only as a man, but also as a man of God.
Yes.
And she knows I won't stand for that. How she knows that I will honor her. However, she knows she probably wouldn't hear from me. Because homie don't play that. And so I thought that was big, because a lot of I'm finding out a lot of people having that struggle. You got a lot of parents that are trying to manipulate, that are trying to influence outcomes in situations that's not their place. Now you can support if your opinion is asked, you have to be even careful in giving that.
Yes.
But you got to understand, you can't exert your opinion and pressure to get across your agenda. Oh, that's good stuff. Now, this is like a third part of that question. There are a lot of in-laws that play between. Oh, this is a good one right here, Ma. There are a lot of in-laws that play these games between their child's ex and their current spouse. What did you not do to cross that line? And did you ever feel any pressure to lean to one side or the other?
Okay.
Do I got to repeat that one? Was that a lot?
It was a lot, but I got it.
Okay.
But I need to say, I want to say this to be true to my. Although I never really approved of the first marriage, I never did Sandra, my grandson's mother. And
Gotcha.
if I talk to her, she knows my.
Gotcha.
She's not allowed to talk to me about your wife. She's not allowed to criticize. I don't accept. But if she needs to call me and talk to me about my grandson, she knows my ears open.
Wow.
But that's just it for her. Madeline, she's quiet, she's reserved, and she's constantly thinking about the next thing. what's going to happen next? How are we going to next? So I don't worry about what's going on with her as much as I did in his. I still pray for her because I can feel her. But I don't interject anything into either one.
Wow, that's huge. And so I want to make sure that I summarize this properly. So when I asked my mother, I said, you know, there are a lot of in-laws that play these games between their child's ex and their current spouse. And I asked her, what did she do not to cross that line? And did she ever feel any pressure to lean to one side or the other? And her response to that was, she put barriers in place. There were some things that while I was no longer married to my son's mother, she didn't cut my son's mother off because I was no longer married to her. She just had to set parameters as to what they could talk about. And those parameters primarily surrounded themselves about my son. And that's important because when there are children involved, there should always be some type of relationship. But that relationship has to have boundaries. There has to be parameters that surround that relationship. If not, you're going to run into a disaster. And so my son's mother knew that this is the only thing that we could talk about. I can't talk about you and him. I can't talk about you and his wife. I can only talk about my grandson. Or I'm only going to talk about my grandson. And if that's something you can't handle, then we can't conversate. While on the same token, she said that she knew she didn't have that issue with my wife. Because my wife primarily always thinking about the next move, which is so true. And so there's some things that she don't even lend time to because she's always thinking about the next move. But it's important, guys, especially if you are an in-law and you're watching this show, you have to place parameters. If you're married and your in-laws have a problem with that, then you have to sit down with them and say, listen, these are the parameters. These are the things that should be allowed, and these are the things that should not be allowed. And there should be a mutual respect between all of you that will assure that no one crosses those lines. Wow, I like that. You know, it's apparent, or is your apparent love and admiration for your son's family out of loyalty to him, or is it from another place?
I think it's just from another place. Of course, I love my son, and I want to help him. But about this is, I already know how I was before, I would say. So I check the energy in my salvation. I go down for all, and I expect it. I don't put no time limit on it because I know that his time that I have to wait on. So I wait. I just wait.
And so your apparent love and your admiration for my family now is like you said, from another place.
Yes.
So it's not based upon just me being your son and you want to be a loyal mom and you want to make me happy. That don't have nothing to do with that.
Not at all. And so the people that I've met through my life, well, I met your mother when I was 10. Unfortunately, for a lot of young people, and there are a lot of young men, because people are not available for the family that they made. So if you learn how to accept what you have to do in life, expect and know that God will do, so He promised you to do for you. Even at the worst time of your life, you know they can be better. And this is why every day I said, it's not as I want, I'm not as healthy as I like, but I know it will be. And I know I will be.
Wow. Listen, I got some more questions for you, but I don't have any more time. Listen, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. As you can see, Madeline isn't with me because I just wanted to have a conversation with my mother. I just thought it was just of the utmost importance that you guys hear from another level in another avenue or angle as relates to the blended family dynamic. You guys have heard from, of course, myself and my wife. We've been doing this for 2.5 years. You heard from an in-law. You heard from an ex, my main man, Walter Clark, who is my wife's ex-husband. You've seen and heard us. You've heard from 2 of our daughters. We're still working on the oldest one, get her on the show. And then you heard from, now you've heard from my mother. And so I think that kind of covers basically every area. There are a couple more we want to really look at, but I thought this would be great. I thought this would be an insightful conversation piece. Listen, I want to thank my mother for joining me. This woman is phenomenal. She's awesome. She's all that. And man, this again, you guys, words can't express what she's done to ensure me being the strong man that I am today. Now, of course, she's not a man. She couldn't help me be a man. Well, she couldn't make me a man, but she sure assisted in the development of me being a man. And so I want to thank her for joining me on In the Blender. Listen, if you guys have any comments, any questions, listen, you can reach us on weareablendedfamily@gmail.com. weareablendedfamily@gmail.com. That's our email address. Listen, also too, real quickly before we go, you guys want to pre-order this book. This is the ABCs of the Blended Family. We're taking pre-orders right now. You can go to our website at intheblenderministries.com. You want to go there and get this book and put your pre-order in. It's only $15. And listen, this is a short read, but it's impactful, it's insightful. There's some building blocks, some nuggets that's in this book that's going to take your blended family to that next level, that next dimension. Listen, we love you guys. Also, you want to tune in on Thursday from 8 to 9 on live365.com. You want to tune in? Listen, that's our radio broadcast. It's going global, worldwide. You want to get on right now. Also, I got some exciting news that I'm going to share with you guys next week on another piece that we're doing as a blended family. Listen, we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And until next week, bye-bye.